In 1949, police discovered a murder scene so disturbing, so meticulously arranged, that even hardened detectives could not sleep for weeks. The crime scene photographs were locked away immediately, the case files were marked classified, and the officers who first responded, they requested transfers to different precincts within days. Have you ever walked down a dark alley and felt like someone was watching you? That cold sensation creeping up your spine, making every shadow seem alive. What if that feeling was the last thing someone ever experienced? Behind an abandoned cinema in Los Angeles, investigators found something that defied every rule of criminal behavior they had ever learned. What they discovered was not just murder, it was art. Sick, twisted art that would haunt the City of Angels for decades to come. The victim lay motionless in the narrow alleyway, but this was no ordinary crime scene. Her body had been positioned with surgical precision. One delicate hand reached toward the heavens, as if grasping for salvation that would never come. Her face, once radiant with Hollywood dreams, bore deep, calculated incisions that spoke of methodical brutality. But here is what made seasoned investigators question everything they thought they knew about murder. The killer had not just taken a life, they had created a grotesque masterpiece. Every detail was deliberate, every wound was purposeful, every element of the scene told a story that no one could fully comprehend. The woman lying in that forgotten alley was Lola Montague, 24 years old, a cocktail waitress with dreams bigger than the California sky. A woman who had moved to Los Angeles chasing stardom, only to become the centerpiece of the most shocking murder case the city had ever witnessed. But who would turn a human being into their masterpiece? What kind of mind could conceive such calculated horror, and why did the killer arrange the scene like a theatrical performance, as if they wanted the world to witness their work? If stories like this fascinate you, if you want to explore the darkest corners of true crime, smash that like button right now, because what you are about to hear will challenge everything you think you know about murder, obsession, and the price of ambition in a city built on broken dreams. The investigation that followed would expose a web of secrets so twisted, so deeply buried in the glamorous facade of 1940s Hollywood, that some believe the truth was deliberately hidden to protect the powerful. Tonight, we are going to uncover every shocking detail of Lola Montague's final hours and reveal why her murder remains one of California's most disturbing unsolved mysteries. Before Lola Montague became a headline, before her name was whispered in fear across Los Angeles, she was simply a girl with impossible dreams and an unbreakable spirit. Born in a dusty farming town 30 miles outside the city, Lola grew up watching the distant glow of Hollywood lights from her bedroom window. Her father worked double shifts at the local grain mill. Her mother took in laundry to make ends meet. But every night, young Lola would press her face against the glass and imagine herself dancing under those brilliant lights, her name blazing across movie theater marquees. Friends from her hometown remembered a girl who refused to accept limitations. While other teenagers talked about marriage and settling down, Lola spent her evenings practicing monologues from classic films. She would transform their small living room into a stage, performing for an audience of worn furniture and faded wallpaper. At 18, with nothing but a cardboard suitcase and $47 in crumpled bills, Lola boarded a Greyhound bus bound for Los Angeles. She carried with her a dog-eared copy of Photoplay magazine and a letter of recommendation from her high school drama teacher. The letter read, "Lola possesses a rare combination of talent and determination that cannot be taught." The reality of Hollywood proved far harsher than the magazine suggested. Lola rented a cramped studio apartment above a Chinese restaurant in a neighborhood where dreams went to die. The walls were paper thin, the plumbing barely worked, but she hung movie posters over the water stains and called it home. By day, she waited in endless lines for auditions that lasted 30 seconds. Casting directors would glance at her headshot, mutter a few words to their assistants, and dismiss her with a wave. Next, they would call, before she had even finished introducing herself. By night, she worked at the Golden Palm Lounge, serving cocktails to men in expensive suits who made promises they never intended to keep. The job paid enough to cover rent and acting classes, but barely left room for anything else. Her roommate, Betty Chen, later told investigators that Lola would come home exhausted, but never defeated. She would kick off those painful heels, rub her aching feet, and immediately start rehearsing lines for the next day, Betty recalled. "I never once heard her complain about the rejections. She would just say, 'Tomorrow will be different.'" But beneath the relentless optimism, cracks were beginning to show. Lola started keeping a journal, and the entries revealed a young woman wrestling with profound loneliness. "I smile for everyone," she wrote in March of 1949, But when I come home to this empty room, I wonder if anyone would notice if I just disappeared. The acting classes became her sanctuary. Fellow students described Lola as generous with encouragement and fierce in her dedication. She would stay after class to help others with their scenes, even when she could barely afford the bus fare home. Lola had this way of making you believe in yourself, remembered classmate James Morrison. She would look you in the eye and say, "You belong here. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise." She needed to hear those words herself, but she was too busy giving them to everyone else. During the spring of 1949, Lola began attracting attention from some of Hollywood's more influential figures. She landed small roles in 2 independent films and caught the eye of several prominent producers. For the first time since arriving in Los Angeles, her dreams seemed within reach. But success in Hollywood came with a price. The same men who offered her opportunities also made demands that had nothing to do with acting ability. Lola found herself navigating a world where talent mattered less than willingness to compromise. Her journal entries from July 1949 revealed a woman at a crossroads. "I came here to become someone," she wrote, "but I am losing myself in the process. How much of your soul can you sell before there is nothing left?" But August 1949 would change everything. The month that should have marked Lola's breakthrough would instead become the final chapter of her story, and the dreams that had carried her from a small farming town to the heart of Hollywood would die with her in a forgotten alley behind an abandoned cinema. August 15th, 1949. The night that would become the final chapter of Lola Montego's story began with champagne and jazz music floating through the warm California air. The party was held at the sprawling Bel Air mansion of film producer Harrison Blackwood, a man known for his lavish gatherings and his talent for discovering new stars. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing light across marble floors. Hollywood's elite mingled on terraces overlooking the glittering city below. Lola arrived at 9:30 that evening, wearing a midnight blue dress she had borrowed from her roommate Betty. Witnesses later described her as radiant, her eyes bright with excitement and possibility. This was not just another party for Lola. Blackwood had personally invited her after seeing her screen test the previous week. The guest list read like a who's who of 1940s Hollywood. Directors, producers, and studio executives moved through rooms filled with cigarette smoke and whispered conversations about million-dollar deals. For Lola, this represented everything she had dreamed of since boarding that Greyhound bus 5 years earlier. She spent the early hours of the evening networking with determination that impressed even seasoned industry professionals. Lola worked that room like she owned it, recalled actor Robert Sterling. She had this way of making everyone feel like they were the most important person there. But at approximately 11:15, something changed. Multiple witnesses noticed Lola engaged in deep conversation with a man they had never seen before. He was tall, well-dressed in an expensive black suit, with dark hair and intense eyes that seemed to follow her every movement. He appeared out of nowhere, remembered party guest Margaret Walsh. One moment Lola was talking to the director of photography about her upcoming audition, and the next moment this stranger was leading her toward the dance floor. The mystery man moved with confidence that suggested familiarity with high society gatherings, yet no one could identify him. When asked, he introduced himself only as Vincent and deflected questions about his background with charm and evasive answers. For nearly an hour, Lola and Vincent danced to the smooth sounds of the hired jazz quartet. Other guests noticed how he whispered constantly in her ear, how she laughed at his comments, how her expression shifted from joy to something more complex as the evening progressed. At 12:30 in the morning, several witnesses observed Lola and Vincent stepping onto the mansion's moonlit terrace. They appeared to be having an intense discussion, though the music made their words impossible to hear. Vincent gestured toward the gardens below, while Lola shook her head repeatedly. She looked conflicted, said Catherine Mills, who watched from across the terrace. Like someone torn between excitement and fear. He kept touching her arm, trying to persuade her of something. At 1:15 in the morning, party host Harrison Blackwood noticed that Lola was no longer among his guests. When asked about her whereabouts, other attendees realized they had not seen her for nearly 45 minutes. The mysterious Vincent had also vanished without saying goodbye to anyone. A search of the mansion and grounds revealed nothing. Lola's small purse was found on a table near the terrace, but her coat had disappeared along with her. The valet confirmed that no one had requested their car during that time period. By dawn, Lola Montagu's body was discovered in that narrow alley behind the Starlight Cinema, 5 miles from the Blackwood mansion. The theater had been closed for renovations for over 2 months. No one had any reason to be in that forgotten corner of the city. Who was Vincent? How did Lola travel from a Bel Air mansion to a deserted alley in such a short time? Why did she leave the party that could have changed her life forever? What convinced her to go with a complete stranger into the night? What do you think happened that night? Drop your theories in the comments below, because the mystery surrounding Vincent's identity would become the most frustrating aspect of this entire investigation. Detective Marcus Del Rey would soon discover that finding Vincent would prove nearly impossible. But the secrets he would uncover about Lola's final hours would reveal a web of deception that reached far deeper than anyone could have imagined. Detective Marcus Del Rey received the call at 5:47 in the morning. 23 years on the Los Angeles Police Department had taught him to read crime scenes like most people read newspapers, but nothing in his extensive experience had prepared him for what awaited behind the Starlight Cinema. Del Rey was not your typical Hollywood detective. While other officers chased headlines and celebrity cases, he specialized in the murders that newspapers preferred to ignore: the prostitutes found in abandoned warehouses, the drifters discovered in storm drains, the forgotten people whose deaths barely merited a paragraph in the back pages. His reputation for solving impossible cases had earned him grudging respect from both criminals and colleagues. Del Rey possessed an unusual gift for seeing patterns where others saw chaos. He could walk into a crime scene and immediately sense whether he was dealing with passion, desperation, or something far more calculated. Standing over Lola Montague's carefully arranged body, Del Rey felt the familiar chill that accompanied truly methodical murders. The positioning was too precise, the wounds too controlled, the location too deliberate. "This is not a robbery gone wrong," he told the crime scene photographer. "This is not a crime of passion. Someone spent considerable time planning every detail of this murder." The detective noted several disturbing elements that would haunt the investigation for months. A small glass perfume bottle sat precisely 6 inches from Lola's left hand, containing a scent that none of the local perfume shops could identify. The exotic fragrance seemed deliberately placed, as if the killer wanted investigators to notice it. Laboratory analysis revealed traces of an unusual toxin in Lola's bloodstream. The substance was not lethal in the amounts detected, but it would have caused disorientation and confusion. Someone wanted her compliant but conscious, the coroner explained. They wanted her to know what was happening. Most disturbing were the faint symbols carved into the brick wall near where her body was discovered. The markings appeared fresh, created with surgical precision using a sharp instrument. No one at the police department could decipher their meaning. Within 48 hours of beginning his investigation, Del Rey had identified 3 individuals whose relationships with Lola demanded closer examination. Victor Montero was a film producer whose reputation for discovering new talent was matched only by his connections to Los Angeles's criminal underworld. Montero had offered Lola a starring role in his upcoming production just weeks before her death, but former associates whispered about his unusual methods for ensuring loyalty from his actors. Conrad Fletcher, known to friends as Con, had dated Lola for 6 turbulent months during the previous year. Their relationship ended when Lola discovered his involvement in illegal gambling operations. Multiple witnesses confirmed that Fletcher had made public threats against Lola, including one memorable outburst at the Golden Palm Lounge, where he declared, "If I cannot have her, no one will." Madison Reyes presented a more complex challenge. As owner of the upscale Midnight Room nightclub, she employed Lola as a cocktail waitress, while maintaining business relationships that straddled both legitimate entertainment and questionable ventures. Reyes was known for her ability to make problems disappear, but her methods remained mysterious. However, building cases against any of these suspects proved frustratingly difficult. Key pieces of evidence began disappearing from the police evidence room. Witness testimonies contained suspicious inconsistencies, as if people were coordinating their stories. The guest list from the Blackwood party proved incomplete, with several pages mysteriously missing from the official record. When Del Rey attempted to interview specific attendees, he discovered that 3 had suddenly left Los Angeles for extended vacations in other states. Most troubling was the complete absence of any trace of the mysterious Vincent. No guest remembered his full name. No one could provide details about his background. Several party attendees who had spoken with him at length claimed they could not recall any specifics about their conversations. "Someone is working very hard to make sure this case never gets solved," Del Rey confided to his partner. "Every lead we follow ends in a dead end. Every witness we find has suddenly forgotten crucial details." The detective began to suspect that Lola Montague's murder was connected to something much larger than a personal vendetta. The professional staging of her body, the exotic toxin, the mysterious symbols, and the systematic obstruction of his investigation suggested an organization with considerable resources and influence. But Del Rey's instincts told him that the truth lay hidden somewhere in the complex web of relationships surrounding Lola's final weeks. And he was about to discover that the secrets buried in Hollywood's glamorous facade ran deeper and darker than anyone dared imagine. As Detective Del Rey dug deeper into the lives of his three primary suspects, he discovered that each harbored secrets dark enough to provide motive for murder. Victor Montero's public persona, as a respected film producer, masked a web of criminal connections that reached into every corner of Los Angeles's entertainment industry. FBI files obtained through unofficial channels revealed that Montero had been under federal surveillance for over 2 years. His production company served as a front for money laundering operations that funneled cash from illegal gambling, prostitution, and narcotics through seemingly legitimate film projects. Actresses who refused to cooperate with his demands often found their careers mysteriously destroyed. Those who threatened to expose his operations faced far worse consequences. 3 women who had worked for Montero's company had disappeared over the past 5 years. All were young, ambitious actresses who had reportedly discovered information about his illegal activities. Police investigations into their disappearances had been closed due to lack of evidence, but Del Rey noticed that the same detectives handled all 3 cases. Conrad Fletcher presented a different but equally disturbing profile. His criminal record revealed a pattern of escalating violence against women, though his family's political connections had kept him out of serious jail time. Former girlfriends described a man whose charm could transform into rage without warning. Con had 2 personalities, revealed his ex-girlfriend Maria Santos during a private interview. He could be romantic and generous one moment, then suddenly turn into someone I did not recognize. Court records showed that Fletcher had been arrested twice for assault against previous romantic partners. Both women had later dropped their charges after receiving substantial cash settlements and unsigned letters threatening their families. Madison Reyes operated her nightclub empire with the ruthless efficiency of a military general. Federal agents suspected her establishments of hosting high-stakes illegal gambling operations and serving as meeting places for organized crime figures. Her customer list included judges, police commissioners, and city officials who received special treatment in exchange for overlooking certain irregularities in her business operations. Reyes had cultivated a network of influential protectors who ensured that investigations into her activities never progressed beyond preliminary inquiries. While building cases against these suspects, Detective Del Rey remained puzzled by the physical evidence that defied conventional explanation. The unknown perfume found at the crime scene contained rare oils imported from Southeast Asia. Only 2 shops in Los Angeles sold ingredients necessary to create such a blend, and both establishments claimed no knowledge of anyone purchasing those specific components. Laboratory analysis of the exotic toxin in Lola's bloodstream revealed a sophisticated compound that required advanced chemistry knowledge to produce. The substance was not available through normal medical or veterinary channels. Creating it would have demanded access to specialized equipment and rare chemicals. The ritualistic symbols carved near her body matched no known gang markings, religious iconography, or occult practices that local experts could identify. The precision of the carving suggested someone with surgical training or artistic background. Most troubling was the professional nature of the crime scene staging. The killer had arranged Lola's body with the expertise of someone familiar with theatrical production or forensic investigation. Every element was calculated to convey a specific message that remained maddeningly unclear. Detective Del Rey began noticing connections between his 3 suspects that went beyond their individual relationships with Lola. Montero had provided financing for Fletcher's gambling debts through intermediaries. Reyes had hosted private parties where both men were frequent guests. Phone records revealed that all 3 had been in contact during the weeks leading up to Lola's murder, but the conversations were brief and cryptic, suggesting they were discussing matters too sensitive for normal telephone communication. The detective started to suspect that Lola's murder was not the result of one person's obsession, but rather a coordinated effort involving multiple participants. The level of planning, the systematic destruction of evidence, and the coordinated obstruction of his investigation suggested an organization with considerable resources and reach. For weeks, Del Rey felt like he was chasing shadows, pursuing leads that evaporated the moment he got close to breakthrough discoveries. Every witness he needed to interview had suddenly become unavailable. Every piece of evidence that could provide answers had mysteriously disappeared. But everything changed when a letter arrived at the police station on a grey Tuesday morning in October. The envelope bore no return address, contained no fingerprints, and was addressed simply to the truth seeker. Inside was a message that would transform the entire investigation and reveal that Lola Montague's murder was just the beginning of something far more terrifying. Detective Delray opened the envelope with standard precautions, expecting another false tip or confession from an attention-seeking individual. Instead, he found 3 pages of typed text that would forever change his understanding of Lola Montague's murder. The letter began with a chilling statement. Detective Delray, you have been investigating one death when you should be investigating dozens. Lola Montague was not killed by a jealous lover or a business rival. She was eliminated because she discovered something that threatened the most powerful organization in Hollywood, an organization that has operated in the shadows for over a decade, controlling careers, manipulating public opinion, and silencing anyone who dares to expose their methods. The anonymous writer claimed to be a former member of what they called the Circle, a secret society comprised of studio executives, government officials, organized crime figures, and wealthy industrialists. According to the letter, this group had been orchestrating major events in the entertainment industry since the late 1930s. They decide which actors become stars and which ones disappear, the letter continued. They control which stories get told and which truths get buried. Lola Montague stumbled upon evidence of their activities and became a liability that had to be removed. The writer provided names and dates of 7 other young women who had died under suspicious circumstances over the past 5 years. All were aspiring actresses. All had been on the verge of breakthrough roles. All had died in ways that appeared random but followed disturbing patterns when examined together. Each victim had been found in locations with symbolic significance to the entertainment industry. Each crime scene contained exotic elements that defied conventional investigation. Each case had been closed quickly due to lack of evidence or witness cooperation. The Circle protects itself through a network of corrupt officials, blackmailed politicians, and terrified witnesses, the letter explained. They have people inside police departments, district attorney offices, and federal agencies. This is why your investigation has been systematically obstructed. The writer warned that Detective Delray's own life was now in danger, simply for pursuing the truth about Lola's murder. They know you are getting close to discoveries they cannot allow. The same fate that befell Lola Montague awaits anyone who threatens their secrecy. Most shocking was the letter's claim that the mysterious Vincent from the Blackwood Party was not a suspect, but rather an executioner, a professional killer employed by the Circle to eliminate problems that could not be solved through intimidation or bribery. This is getting crazy, right? If you are hooked on this investigation and want to explore more cases like this, hit that subscribe button because we dive deep into conspiracies that most people never hear about. The letter concluded with coordinates to a location where additional evidence could be found, but warned that retrieving it would confirm Detective Delray's involvement in the investigation and mark him for elimination. Delray stared at those coordinates for hours, knowing that his next decision would determine not only whether Lola Montague's murder was ever solved, but whether he would survive long enough to see justice served. Detective Marcus Delray never retrieved the evidence from those coordinates. 3 days after receiving the anonymous letter, he was transferred to a desk job processing parking violations. His request to continue investigating Lola Montague's murder was denied by his superiors, who cited budget constraints and departmental restructuring. Within 6 months, Delray had taken early retirement. He spent his remaining years in a modest apartment overlooking the Pacific Ocean, surrounded by boxes of case files that officially no longer existed. Former colleagues reported seeing him walking the streets of Hollywood at night, retracing the path from the Blackwood Mansion to the Starlight Cinema. He was searching for something he could never quite identify, a missing piece that would finally make sense of the madness. Lola Montague's murder became woven into the mythology of Los Angeles itself. The case inspired countless books, documentaries, and fictional retellings, each attempting to solve what professional investigators could not. Her story became a cautionary tale whispered among aspiring actors arriving in the city with dreams bigger than their bank accounts. The Starlight Cinema was eventually demolished in 1973, but locals claimed they could still hear jazz music drifting from the empty lot on certain summer nights. Whether this was true or simply the power of suggestion, Lola's presence seemed permanently etched into the landscape of Hollywood. Today, her case continues to fascinate true crime enthusiasts who recognize familiar patterns in contemporary stories of corruption and cover-ups. The questions raised by her murder remain devastatingly relevant. How much power do secret organizations wield over our entertainment industry? Who decides which stories get told and which truths get buried? Lola's tragedy teaches us several crucial lessons about navigating systems built on hidden corruption. First, the price of ambition in corrupt environments is often higher than anyone realizes. Dreams pursued without awareness of the darker realities can lead to devastating consequences. Second, power protects itself through networks of intimidation, bribery, and violence. Those who threaten established systems of control face consequences designed to silence not just them, but anyone who might follow their example. Most importantly, Lola's story reminds us that seeking truth remains essential even when it becomes dangerous. Though Detective Del Rey was ultimately silenced, his investigation planted seeds of awareness that continue growing decades later. Behind every glamorous facade lies a network of compromises, secrets, and occasionally, genuine evil. Being aware of these realities does not mean becoming cynical, but rather developing the wisdom to navigate complex systems while maintaining our integrity. What other unsolved mysteries should we investigate next? Are there cases in your community that deserve deeper examination? Let us know in the comments below, and do not forget to share this video with someone who loves true crime as much as you do. Next week, we are traveling to the fog-covered hills of San Francisco to investigate a disappearance that baffled authorities for over 50 years. A Stanford University student vanished from a locked dormitory room, leaving behind only a cryptic note and a photograph that should not have existed. The truth behind her disappearance will challenge everything you think you know about reality itself.